My name's Mira Datani. I live in London and I currently work as a travel journalist and travel editor. I was born in East London in Barking Hospital, and I grew up in Chadwell Heath, a small London town between Romford and Ilford in Essex. Both sets of grandparents migrated to East Africa first from India, from Gujarat, in different ways. And set up business and family life in Uganda and in Kampala specifically by the end. And then of course in 1972, Idi Amin issued his decree for all Ugandan Asians to leave. And so that is why both sets of grandparents ended up settling in the UK. Culturally, you know, the Gujarati side, the Indian traditions and customs and food and clothing and all of that were as big a part of my life as the sort of British influences. And I think I'm really grateful for that, because I genuinely look back on my childhood, and on one hand it's like going to Garba in the middle of, you know, November on cold nights at a local leisure centre. But on the other hand, I wasn't restricted, and I also remember all my pop posters on my wall. So I really feel that I had a chance to embrace both.
My real name is Sarjan Raja, and I'm an actor, writer, dancer, presenter, so I'm a creative. But my stage name, but also another part of my identity, is Sarj. Yeah, I have Gujarati heritage, both my mother and father. I was born and raised in Crawley in the UK in West Sussex, and Crawley has a very large South Asian community, and a large number of my community members live in Crawley and settled in Crawley, people. So where are you from can take so many different forms, but in my own personal experience, where are you from is really interesting, because I always go back to my Ugandan roots whenever I tell people. I say, oh, I'm British Indian, British South Asian, but my parents were born in Uganda, but originally Gujarati.
My name is Suman Butcher and I am a Londoner now. I work in the fields of arts and culture and women's organisation. I was born and brought up in East Africa, in Tanzania. My dad moved there initially as a kind of a bachelor, and then he got married, and me and my siblings were born in Tanzania. And we lived there, I suppose I was 13 when I came to the UK, so a lot of my early life was in Tanzania. A huge part of my heritage or my upbringing has come from my parents' relationship with East Africa, but at the same time, I know that I'm of Indian background and origin, and I am Indian in a certain way, you know. But now my definition is British Asian. It's very clear to me what it is. I know these are self-definitions, but that's what it is.
My name's Sejal Saimi. I'm from southwest London. I'm the eldest of 3 siblings, and I was the first in the generation of my family to be born in this country to immigrant parents. I work in technology full time, but have a passion for storytelling. I actually come from a mixed heritage background. My father is Sikh Punjabi. He was born and raised in India, in Pune, and his origins are from Punjab. And my mum is Hindu Gujarati, and she's actually raised in Kenya for most of her childhood. She moved over to India in her teens before she came to London. If you ask me now, at the age of 46, my identity is that I'm a good human being. South Asian women in particular are so accustomed to being identified with a specific role in life It doesn't matter whether I'm British born in India, Africa, wherever you are across the world, there is these specific roles that you're identified with. It follows you, you know. You belong, I'm born into a family, I belong to my dad. I get married, I take my husband's name, then I have a child, then I have another child, and so forth.
I'm Mira Salat and I am a Kathak dancer, teacher and a Gujarati folk enthusiast. So I was born in London and my mum was born in Kutch in Gujarat and my dad was born in Nairobi in Africa. I identify as a British Gujarati person where I feel I am equally proud of being born in a diverse hot pot like London, and I wouldn't want to live anywhere else in the world. I am also equally proud of my heritage and my history and my lineage. Me feel so rich and proud of where I come from. I feel like that gives me the richness, the reason for me to fit into this diverse hot pot comfortably is because of that lineage, and I wouldn't take that away for anything. So yeah, I'm British Gujarati.
Hello, my name is Stephen Kasamba. I'm based in London, UK. Originally born in Uganda, and I'm a performer, I'm a director, and I'm an entrepreneur. And I promote African music, African dance, anything to do with Africa, I'm right up there. Me, I'm connected to Uganda because I was born in Uganda. I'm Ugandan, but of course I live in Britain. Now I'm British. I'm still African. I'm still connected with a lot of African families. I speak my language. I understand my language very well, and of course these are things that to me I can pass them on as well.
I'm Ali Fazel. I am born in Kenya. I moved to Britain when I was 10. My family and we lived in Birmingham. I now live in London. I work as a consultant in the city. And yeah, sort of Britain is home, but Kenya is home too. You know, you've got to balance all these different parts of your identity, right? I wouldn't be true to myself if I didn't maintain all parts of my identities. Being Muslim, being Shia, these are as important parts as being, you know, Indian, East African, British. Like, all of these parts form who I am. So to say one, you know, becomes stronger than the other is unfair, I think. It's unfair to myself. It's not a true reflection of who I am. And it's down to me to sort of have that understanding of the various parts of my identity, the various nuances, but also to accept them all, right? It would be wrong for me to push some away and to try and be more one than the other. And I can, of course, there are parts that maybe I relate to more in my day-to-day life, in the sense of, you know, where I work, how I live, what I do. You know, so much of that is British, but so much of my view of life and understanding is Muslim and is based on my understanding of religion and God.
Princess Jane Mpologoma, and I come from Uganda, and in Uganda that's where you find Buganda Kingdom. I was born in Uganda in a place called Sunga. That's where I was born. My mother used to, she has now passed on, but she was a nurse, and she's one of those people who started the Sunga Maternity Center, and she kept on working for the ministry until she passed on. I left the country like most of us do. We reach a point where I can't use the word choose, but where we have to leave the country. And the funniest part of it, when I'm here, if I'm talking about Uganda, I call Uganda my home. that when I go home, when I'm in Uganda, I'll be saying, when I go back home. So I think life becomes stagnant, if you like. You feel like you are like someone living in a no man's land, which is very sad in a way.
My grandfather was born in India, in Nadiad, in Gujarat, and my grandmother was born in Kenya. And when they married, my grandfather moved to Nairobi to be with my grandmother, where he worked in the civil service. And through his work in the Kenyan civil service, he came and settled in the UK in the late 60s. On the other side of my family, both my Spanish grandmother and my Chinese grandfather came to work in the NHS in the 60s. So my grandfather came over from Singapore through India, and took him 3 months. My grandmother came from Spain as part of a program to support the NHS. My name is Rao Lai, and I am a British Asian. I'm half Indian, a quarter Spanish and a quarter Chinese, and I run an organisation called Platform for Indian Democracy. The lesson that was imparted to me and what I learnt very early on was really the importance of community. And I think growing up, whether that be within our family or within the wider community, the importance of supporting one another, being active in your community, building that group that, you know, people rely on each other and help each other. And I think always from a young age, that was my main thing that I was taught. And like, whatever you do, you help others, you look out for other people. You are only as strong as the people that are with you. And my British one, I think, is the diversity. Like I said, I see myself as British, but not the old kind of imperial nostalgia British, but as a modern, diverse, fluid, accepting British. And the fact that I can walk through London and pass Lebanese food, Indian food, Italian food.
Hi, I'm Priti Vasani. I'm a Gujarati folk singer in the UK, and I'm born and raised in northwest London. So my dad was born in Mombasa in Kenya, and my mom was born in Kutch, Gujarat. And after my dad was born in Mombasa, he travelled to Kutch, and they came to the UK in the 70s. Sometimes I don't know where I belong. I love the fact that I'm British and I've adapted a very diverse culture here. But I also love that I've picked up so much of the Gujarati culture and I've introduced that to myself. And being born and brought up here, how I've adapted the two cultures together, I love that. Because I can go to India, I can go to anywhere in the world. The moment I come back to the UK, I feel like I'm home. And that's because there's so much to learn here in the UK from different people. And we work a lot with, like just recently we worked with an African culture for one of the shows that we just did a month ago. But learning their style and their music and their everything about them, and then adapting the Gujarati culture to that, but not just the Gujarati, but then the Western side to that and the Punjabi side to that. There were so many different elements that we brought together, but we were only able to do that by being open within ourselves. That, no, I'm not just a Gujarati, I'm not just a British, I'm very open to adapt to everything.
So I am Vipul Bhatti. I live in South London. My background in terms of career, I started out as a financial journalist. I then did a dance degree at London Contemporary Dance School. It was a South Asian strand so I combined Kathak with the main subject, which was contemporary dance. Both my parents are from East Africa. Both my parents were born in Nairobi. We're of Gujarati ancestry. My father was raised in Nairobi, and my mother was raised in Zanzibar. My father came in 1964, which at the age of 22, and my mother came in 1971. Whether I'm questioned about being Indian or not, or what role is my rooting in East Africa, or if I'm Gujarati or anything else, I would say first and foremost I am a Londoner, because it is global, it is borough-led, it is individual, that I can travel anywhere, but I can still be in the same place.
So I'm Aarti Shah, I'm an actor, and I also run a platform called South Asian Artists, which is a support and networking account for South Asian artists and creatives, and just sort of all-round creative, I'd say. I was born in Wembley, northwest London, and well, my parents, they were born in Kenya. They came here when they were young, and then myself and my brother were brought up in northwest London, and grandparents from India. As I grew up, I was like, okay, I don't really kind of fit in here, and I started to sort of question my identity. There's a sort of famous quote that a lot of people say, for example, too white for the Indian people and too Indian for white people, and it's that kind of, you don't know where that middle ground is in terms of fitting in. So as I was growing up, I started to feel embarrassed of my culture, and obviously that's not nice, because I wanted to embrace it. And now I feel I've sort of started from escaping the culture to starting to embrace it now.
My name is Sheena Patel. I am an architect from Crawley, just a suburb outside of London near Gatwick Airport, and I'm currently working in the Southeast Asian context with communities and looking at reviving cultural practices around ecology and the land. So my father's side of the family came over from Kenya, and it was before the rush of the Exodus and the Idi Amin expulsion. They had come into Crawley and they had settled in the suburbs. So my father and grandparents integrated into British society. They were one of the first families that came over in Crawley, and through that integration they kind of set up a livelihood for themselves. So my mother is originally from India, in Gujarat. It's a state in the west side of India. I would identify myself as an Indian British woman. My roots run deep in India, so I'm Indian first. And it's the term actually somebody highlighted when I'm working in India. I normally would say British Indian, but actually my mother tongue is Gujarati. Those were the first words I learnt at home from my grandmother in Crawley. It was until very later I learnt English. I learnt Gujarati. I learnt to eat Gujarati food with my hands. So those were those influences from India. And so I'm an Indian British. The future could be a very diverse community, and these threads that are woven together, and a new tapestry and a new history has come out of what's going on. And I want to be part of it. I want to be part of this new history, this new dialogue, weaving these threads from different parts of, be it India or the world. I want to weave a new rug together. And in that rug and that tapestry, these fragments of my mother's memory, my father's story, and my grandmother's recipe.